anyone has an objection to that, and if you're calling in through Zoom, just shut off your video and your image won't be captured. Thank you very much for that. So welcome. My name is Eileen Kroll, and I am joined by John Buck and Dina Lambert and Reverend Ray. And this is the first of 4 trainings on Train the Trainer, specifically focused on bringing people who are blind and have any other kind of visual impairment into the mainstream as the trainer in meetings. And we're going to be, John and I, bringing in dynamic governance tools, and Dina and Reverend Ray will be the ones bringing in the lived experience, so that John and I, of course, have no illusion that we can possibly train on a subject that we are not experienced, since we are sighted. And so we are so grateful to them. And this training is in fact due to the inspiration of Reverend Ray, who had been asking for it for years. And so we're thrilled that we have finally been able to bring it to fruition. I just want to very quickly say just a tiny bit about myself, a tiny bit about what dynamic community governance is, and then we will have the other 3 introduce themselves, and then we will talk about what's going to happen tonight. And it's pretty exciting, so I'm very, very much looking forward to it. So my background is in law and legislative advocacy and social work, and in all the different hats I've worn, I've always been representing people with disabilities, representing the underrepresented, people without a voice. So whether it's representing people on psychiatric holds, people with all manner of disability, whether it's something imposed by society or anything else. And so this is very much part of who I have been personally and professionally. And I've had a number of people in my family who have inspired me going in this direction. When I moved to Greenbelt, one of the motivations for sure was the fact that this is a social justice created and oriented and living community. And yet when I started going to meetings, I like to say, unfortunately, that I felt like I wanted to pull my eyelashes out one by one, because we had all these people who wanted to fix the world in a variety of ways, but wanting to do that and knowing how to run meetings are entirely different skills. And so that's when I became introduced to dynamic governance, which is a concept out of the Netherlands, created by an engineer in the Netherlands. And John Buck, who is my co-trainer, he was the one who brought this to the United States, learned enough Dutch to bring this concept to the United States, and has written a number of books to lay it out step by step. And so at its core, there's a lot to it, but at its core, it's about inclusivity, effective communication, working to bring out the best good, not being afraid of different points of view, and having a very specific structure to encourage involvement and getting things done. So that's just at its very essence. And so what we will be doing through these 4 trainings is going through how the process works. So tonight there'll be a lot of talky, but truly the whole emphasis is going to be about being interactive and being engaged. So that's just the basics of what dynamic governance is. Of course, if people want to get more details, you can go to the website, dynamic-governance.org. Through a prior city award, we were able to make our site completely accessible to screen readers. So by all means, know that that is available to be seen in one form or another. So without further ado, I want to introduce John Buck, because without him, there would be no dynamic governance in the United States, and he teaches it all over the world. Take it away, Mr. Buck.
Hi, thanks, Eileen. Everybody, I think Eileen covered the introduction of me pretty well. I've been working on this for quite some time, published a couple of books, and I'm delighted to have ability to, among other things, focus in Greenbelt and try to work in supporting the city in lots of different ways. Tonight, we will be starting on the first of 4 sessions, and we hope by the end of those sessions to have something that I understand from Reverend Ray doesn't exist, which is a complete book or booklet on how you have meetings mixed between people who can see and who can't, and how to make sure everybody is included as one of the things we do. We might do other things also, but that would be a great thing if we could produce that from the putting our heads together. And the process we'll be getting our heads together to develop for ourselves what the answers to some of these questions are. Having said that, I want to give a special introduction to Swarnalakshmi Ravi. She is blind, has been blind since birth, is getting a facilitator certification from a program that we have, and is on tonight as an advisor. So Swarnalakshmi, I'll turn it over to you, and then we'll go to Reverend Ray and Dina.
Thank you very much, John. And before I begin, Eileen, you were asking whether you were pronouncing my name correctly, and that was perfect. So thank you for that. And I'm Swarnalakshmi, as John said. I am currently 22 years. I finished my master's in international relations and global governance at Aston University in England. I have been working with Children's Parliament for the past 13 years, through which I came to know John, and then got in touch with him, and right now is about to get my facilitation certification in their company. So that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're so delighted to have you here.
And Swarnalakshmi is like, I think it's about 4:30 in the morning, where she is in Chennai, in India. So thank you very much for joining us, Swarnalakshmi. Let's go to Reverend Ray.
All right, good evening, and I'm glad that we are able to introduce dynamic governance. A little bit about myself real quick. I'm a native Washingtonian. At 13 years old, 4th of July, a firecracker, which we call a cherry bomb, exploded and blinded me in both eyes at 13. I went to Columbia Lighthouse for the Blind to get some blind skills, and then I went to Maryland School for the Blind, and then I went to American U for business, and then I ran and was a licensed operator in the food business and had facilities and stuff in the government buildings. Now currently work for a Prince George County councilman, and I am constituent service a specialist. So I assist a person with disability and seniors as my concentration. I do a couple of radio shows on disability. I do a TV show once a month on disability. I always say I fight the 3 Bs, and the 3 Bs is blindness, blackness, and barriers. And I say barriers like what we're doing now. A lot of people with disabilities do not in organizations, because a lot of times when they're sitting at the table, they don't know how to be involved, and the persons that we call tabs, and that's temporary able-bodied persons, they don't know how to include them. But after taking this dynamic governance about a year or so ago, I required some pretty good skills. And from those pretty good skills that I required, because sometimes, I'm a little pushy and stuff like that, but I require some pretty good skills, how to involve different people. And from those skills, I have to say, I'm president of CAGDU, that's Capital Area Guide Dog Users. It's about 100 persons that have guide dogs. I have a guide dog that's in that group, and there we represent in Virginia, Northern Virginia, DC, Prince George County, Montgomery County, Southern Maryland. And also I'm the president of IIB, and that's Independence and Information for the Blind. And I'm also the president, just became president last month of the DC Council of the Blind state affiliate. And I say that because these skills really helped me to get buy-in from other people to put me in a position that they felt comfortable enough to vote for me to become president in those organizations. So I know how valuable these skills are. So I'm really looking forward to not only being refreshed of them, but also to hopefully share with others to have some of their dreams come true. So thank you, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Reverend Ray. We're delighted to have you here. And last but definitely not least, Dina Lambert, take it away.
Good evening, everybody. I have a little bit more of an accent tonight. Located in Little Rock, Arkansas. So I cry from a bit of ways from Maryland, but I really appreciate you all being here for this series. I am a resident in Greenbelt, have been in the area for almost 20 years. And I'm a mom of a 2-year-old little boy. I'm also involved in various communities around Greenbelt, particularly Greenbelt Homes Incorporated, which is a homeowners association in Greenbelt. And also I'm a federal employee, just taking on a new role as a director of equal opportunity and diversity. So I am very happy to see this series being taught. I am blind, congenitally blind from birth. So I've been definitely in meetings and in organizations where I'm either the only one or among very few other blind individuals. And I'm happy to see these skills to be, rolled out and for us to come up with some tools that will hopefully benefit everyone, whether you're sighted or not. I think the biggest challenge to a lot of folks is communication and access to information. So happy to be here and look forward to talking with you all this evening.
Thank you, Dina. I also want to acknowledge that Dina Lambert is on the Center for Dynamic Community Governance Board. And with us tonight also are 2 other members on the board, Angeline Butler and Patience Robbins. So thank you to all of them. I'm going to take a few minutes now just to kind of lay out what we're going to be doing tonight, and then we will get started on the process in earnest. First and foremost, I want to thank the City of Greenbelt for giving us the sponsorship to make tonight happen. In addition to providing 4 sessions, which will be on roughly a monthly basis, and our next session will be Tuesday, November 30th, also from 7 to 9 p.m. And we will send out that information again, but I just want to let you know so you can put it in your calendar. In addition to having these trainings, we also are offering to work with anyone in Greenbelt who would like John and I to be sort of coaching from behind. So if you would like us to attend any of your meetings virtually or in person when that happens, because I have great confidence that somewhere within the next century that will happen again, then we are happy to do that, because we recognize that skills need to be, ingrained. You can't just hear something and do it. So we are happy to help. And Reverend Ray has graciously offered to see if he can find us some kind of financial support so that we can offer that same sort of coaching from behind to folks in the rest of Prince George's County, because we really don't want to have this separation between. So he's working on that. And if anybody else has any suggestions on that, we are all ears. Each session will build on the skills learned in the prior one. And so we hope that people who haven't attended this session will listen to the recording so they can jump in. If that doesn't turn out to be the case, for those who are joining by Zoom, we can go into breakout rooms and have a session for people who are starting anew and one for others. But we're hoping that we can keep the group together. So that's where we're going to start from. The concept that we're going to be working from is how to make it so that groups can work together when they're hybrid, sighted and not sighted. And that's what we're going to be working on tonight. But before we get started with that, the first thing that we do when we start a meeting using dynamic community governance is what we call a round or a circle, the introduction, the check-in. It's called different names by different groups. But what I wanted to talk about is, why do we do that? You know, it's just sort of become something that every group does, but why? And the why is to transition from wherever you were to where you here, why to being here present. And so it just helps us get to know each other a little bit. If we're having, you know, a crummy day or a wonderful day or a moment of inspiration, whatever it is, it's nice to bring it in so we can have some kind of connection, especially when we're doing it virtually. And so I think we have just the right number of people that we can probably include everybody in a check-in. What do you think, John? Do you think we can include everybody in a check-in?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Just everybody would keep it, fairly short, just so we know kind of where you are and something about how you're doing.
Yeah, so this is not, the great American novel. This is, and of course you can always pass. There is no requirement that you engage. It is completely voluntary, but it would be lovely to have your name and what brings you here tonight and anything else that you would like to tell us, like where you are. So again, short and sweet, just enough for us to get a feel of you and bring you into the conversation. And so I'm going to call on people based on how I'm seeing them on a screen. If we were doing this in person, we would have people sitting in a round, in a circle, because a circle has no beginning and no end. And that's really the essence of dynamic governance, that it isn't about who's in front and who's in back. We're all in it together. Angeline, I'm going to call on you because you are the first name appearing on my screen.
I was hoping to be the last.
There ain't no hiding here.
Yeah, that's right. I live in Greenbrier condominiums. That's in Greenbelt. And I have been on the governing board there, the board of directors, for, a couple of decades at least. And I was interested in dynamic community governance because I, as president, was having to try to run meetings, board meetings, and sometimes it went better and sometimes it didn't go so well. So I wanted to get a definite procedure. And so I had taken their class, the class that John and Eileen had given, and it was a great help. I haven't been quite as successful in passing this knowledge on to some of the board members, but that's okay. It's still working better than it used to. And as to where I am, I've been taking care of a lot of things that to keep my car going, that the emissions test and a lot of these other things that come in from various levels of government. And so I want to get all this done by November so that I can enjoy the holidays. So that's where I am.
Thank you, Angeline. And Lois, we would love to hear from you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lois Staves. I reside in Fort Washington, Maryland. I have been here in PG County for quite a while. I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, originally from Kansas City, Missouri. I'm active. I'm involved in a lot of community organizations in the blind world. I'm a blind lady. I have glaucoma. It was diagnosed about 30 years ago. And at the time, looking at the optic nerve and doing all the exams that they did do, they suggested that it might have been juvenile glaucoma. I did have very bad vision as a child, wore glasses, and they got thicker and thicker over the years. So that's where I am with my vision now. Like I said, I'm involved in a nonprofit 501c3 organization here in the county in Maryland, I3S Foundation Incorporated. We're an organization that addresses the issues and needs of blind persons, low vision and blind persons. On Tuesday nights, we have a support group that it's just, we talk. It's a peer-to-peer support group. We have discussions on what it's like to be blind, the issues that you face. We present resources in the community that persons can use. On Thursday nights, we do segments on health and wellness. And this is to include all persons with all disabilities. I'm also involved in NFB, National Federation of the Blind. I hold a board position in the seniors division. I have an MSW, which has led me for a more fervent love for my community and more involvement. I think that's about the highlights.
Thank you, Lois. We're delighted you're here. And Miriam, we'd love to hear from you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Miriam Lamas. I live here in Greenbelt, near the St. Hugh's Church in Old Greenbelt. And I'm a really big fan of frameworks. And I've been really wanting to take a community, this class, the community governance class, for a long time, dynamic governance for a long time. And my mother is also low vision. So I have an interest in low vision community as well.
Thank you, Miriam. Patience.
Hello, everyone. I'm Patience Robbins. I also live in Greenbelt, Maryland, and I'm on the board for this lovely program, Dynamic Governance. And so I'm very interested, very enthused about it. I love to always work with it, hear about it, be part of it. So I'm just delighted we can do this together.
Thank you, Patience. Nancy, we're delighted that you're here. We'd love to hear from you as well.
Hi, I'm Nancy Solomon. I live in the Greenbelt Homes Incorporated, the co-op in Greenbelt, and happy to be here. What intrigued me is learning more about coping with low vision, how people with low vision can be, participate in the community in a full level. And that interested me because I do know a number of people who have low vision issues. And I thought by learning more, I could be more available to them and assist them in that way. So thank you for inviting me.
That's great. Thank you. And Nancy's also very involved with Michigan Torah, the synagogue in our community. So thank you for all the work you do. Charisse.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, Miriam. My name is Charisse Liggins, and I'm the Economic Development Coordinator for the City of Greenbelt. And although I'm not here in the capacity of the city, I'm very happy to be here. I've had many conversations with Eileen, and she's been a great thought partner, and just all the work that she's doing along with John in this organization has been very fascinating to me. And so I'm just excited for the opportunity to be a part of your trainings and also learn more specific ways to support, you know, all the diversity of people in communities. And so I'm excited to just listen and learn tonight. Thank you.
So thrilled that you're here, Cherise. Thank you so much. Kristen.
Good evening. So my name is Kristen Weaver. I live in Greenbelt Station and Greenbelt West, and I am here. I'm interested in the dynamic governance aspect of it. We'll find out on Tuesday if I'll be able to hopefully make a difference in some of our local meetings, but also from a professional standpoint at work. I credit my colleague Heather Mortimer, who's on for helping raise awareness on our team for the citizen science app that we work on, about making sure that all of our materials are accessible as much as possible to everybody. And I'm hoping to learn more about that aspect as well. So I have multiple reasons for wanting to be here this evening. And I guess in terms of what I'm excited for, so right now I have to say I'm thinking about, so my parents are coming into town on Friday for a visit, and I haven't seen them for a while. So I'm very excited about that, and also thinking about that I need to do some tidying up before they get here. So
Thank you for making the time, Kristen. And since you used Heather's name in vain, it makes sense that we call on Heather next.
Well, I don't know if I have too much to add. I'm Heather Mortimer. I live in Greenbelt in GHI, and I, along with Dina, serve on the board of directors for GHI. And a major focus of my work, like Kristen said, is on accessibility. So I have quite a few reasons for being here as well. And I've heard plenty about dynamic governance from my hiking buddy, Eileen.
Thank you for being here, Heather. And Emmett, we'd love to hear from you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name's Emmett Jordan, and I live in Greenbelt, Maryland. Let's see, I live in Greenbrier condominiums across from the high school. So I heard about this training, and it looked interesting. I've actually gone through part of a dynamic governance training session in the past. I think about 2 or 3 years ago. We were doing some workshops over at Greenbrier. So, you know, I'm always trying to improve my skills and upgrade my knowledge. So tonight, I'm sort of listening in, auditing the program. I'm not sure how actively I'm going to be able to participate, because I'm doing a million things right now and today. So I hope you'll indulge me if I have to duck out. But I am listening, and I'm very, very interested in the content, but also the impact of the content in the city of Greenbelt. So it's nice to be here tonight. I'm excited to be here tonight.
We very much appreciate your support and being here, Emmett. So thank you so very much. Let me see if there is anyone that I missed. I think I got everybody. Okay, so what I would like to transition to. Oh, Renee, I'm so sorry. I didn't even, you know what? I'm so used to seeing your name with Ray's. So, pardon moi, you are definitely a very important entity in your own right. So I'm glad you spoke up. Thank you so much. By all means, take it away, Renee.
Well, my name is Renee Sewell-Razor. I'm related to Reverend Ray by marriage. We find that convenient. I came into the blind community about 25 years ago, and it was a whole new world to me. And so I learned how to be involved, but allowing blind people to take the lead. And that was a different position than oftentimes I experience in groups. I have progressive hearing loss, so I know we're not talking about that, but I know what it feels like to be on the outside, because I'm as my hearing has deteriorated, it's harder for me to participate in meetings. I've taken the dynamic community governance course. I find it applicable. It's principles applicable in all groups that I'm involved in run more smoothly if we can agree on that concept. So I'm excited to see this both as part of the city involving persons with disabilities, as well as the principals being involved in groups that are primarily blind and low vision groups.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you so much. And I will say that one of the things that struck me over the years is, well, first of all, what a powerful ally and support you are, Renee, and that Reverend Ray, when he's in meetings with sighted people, you know, you are in a position of translating all the things that are requiring vision. And that was what stood out to me as such an important reason to have this training, because when very well-intentioned people, sighted people, are having meetings, we're not thinking about how much reliance there is on the written word. You know, let's just look at this PowerPoint right now. Let's just look at this document. And so unintentionally, very well-intentioned people are being excluding of others. And so that's why I'm so delighted that we're raising the level of consciousness, because things only change when that happens. What we're going to do, John has put in the chat, but the chat is only useful for people who have screen readers. So what we're going to do tonight, and Reverend Ray and Dina will by all means jump in if I get any of this incorrectly. But what we're going to do is, if people have screen readers and are able to access the document that John has put in the chat, that's fine. But at the same time, I'm going to be saying verbally everything that is written, so that no matter what technology or no technology that you have, we will all be on the same page. So the document that has been put in the chat is called the Consent Decision-Making Summary. Consent Decision-Making Summary. And we call it the cheat sheet because it enables us to, in a very quick way, get business done. And it's very concrete and it's very easy to follow. And so for us tonight, our goal is to work on creating a blueprint that can be used in any business or community organization in Greenbelt, in Prince George's County, in your families, anywhere. And so we want to come up with recommendations that can be used in your groups, as well as submitted to the city as a blueprint. And we do think, as Reverend Ray said, that this is going to be incredibly important, because we hope that this becomes what other cities start using as well. So in the cheat sheet, under the heading of producing proposals, we have this concept called picture framing, picture forming. And what that means is we're not looking for any solutions at this point. We're not looking for any of that. What we're talking about is what we call the ball of yarn. We just want to present the issue. And so the issue is how to have meetings where there's a hybrid of sighted and not sighted people together, so that everyone is included. So that's the issue that we are going to be tussling around with. And so the second step is identifying the elements or the strands of that yarn, which is to say, what's getting in the way? What's getting in the way? And so what I would like to do is this, that I want to go around, and if we were doing this in person, we'd be going around the room, and doing it virtually. We're going to be going around the screen, so to speak. And John is going to be writing down any thoughts that people have. And again, the most important part is to recognize we are not looking for solutions. We're just looking for people to say, what is it that gets in the way? For the sighted people, what do you think gets in the way? For those who have the lived experience of blindness or low vision, what has been your experience? And John's just going to be keeping a running tally. And after he writes everything down he's putting it in screen share right now, I'm going to be saying it out loud. So you don't have to worry about missing anything.
And Eileen Swarnalachmi just gave me a heads up to make sure I know that the screen reader can't read what's on the screen. And she said, "Oh, okay, I have opened the summary sheet and the Google Docs, so you can read it by screen reader." She's confirmed that she's reading it by her screen reader. So it's but we know that you can't read it with a screen reader on what's on the screen.
Yeah, and again, not a problem, because everything is going to be said verbally, and this is being recorded, so you'll be able to hear it again. So
and one other thing, I'd also invite Dina and Reverend Ray to give insights and comments as we're going like that. Just interrupt and say what you have to say about what we're doing, because Eileen and I are trying to do our best to demonstrate what we think will work.
Absolutely put us in our place, no question, because we can bring in the tools, but you have the lived experience. John, what I'll need you to do is take the screen share off so I can see people and call on them. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to call on people in the order that they're in my screen, and as part of the dynamic community governance process, if you have an idea you want to share, you share it, and if not, you say pass. But there's no idea that is not worth presenting. Go ahead, John.
And I'll be continuing to take notes in this document that's labeled Train the Trainers session, a notes sheet for the Train the Trainers session. So you can follow along on that without being the screen sharing going.
Thank you.
Eileen.
Yes,
Reverend,
go ahead. Yes.
Reverend Ray, can I start it off just to give people a sense of what you're asking?
Absolutely, I would love that.
Okay, and I will give one thing. One of the problems from a blind person's point of view is, after sitting down in a meeting, a lot of people, sighted people, stumble over trying to be politically correct, and they don't know. They say, "Well, did you look?" And then they'll stop. They say, "Or did you?" And then you'll stop. So one of the first things I want to say, it is all right to use the word see. Can you see? Did you look? Did you? It's all right that those words are not offensive to us. What does, get offensive when you try to be politically correct and say sightless person or whatever. And so the first thing to put people at ease when you first sit down and start having a conversation, that those words are permissible. I mean, those words are all right to use. Look, or did you see that last night? Or did you? Those words are definitely all right to use. And a lot of people get hung up on that, and it just believe it or not, in the beginning of a meeting, when those things happen, it just puts such a bad, it just put a bad feeling in the meeting. And for blind people, it's almost like they uncomfortable almost from that point on. So you don't have to be politically correct on everything, and that's not politically correct to say. It's all right to say the word see, look. It's all right to use those words.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that information and that perspective. Okay, going across my screen. Patience, what are your thoughts, if you have thoughts you would like to share with us on what you see as issues that are getting in the way of full integration, inclusivity in meetings with sighted and unsighted people together?
So I would say lack of experience and lack of awareness and discomfort.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Renee, you have a bird's eye view on this. What would you say?
Oftentimes when there has not been accommodations made for blind and low vision people, the sighted assistant is interpreting what's going on visually and misses a lot of the information. And so the assumption that people make that I am a PCA, a personal care attendant, that the person is unable to, people don't speak to them directly. People assume that I can sign for them, or they expect me to sign without reading a document to them. So those are some of the challenges that I've experienced as a sighted assistant. To not be, the big thing is to be mistaken for a personal care attendant and that they are unable to function and carry on their own business.
Thank you so much. John, are you able to get this down? Are you able to?
I'm not sure that I got this, your thought completely, Renee. What I say in the notes so far is when accommodations are made for low vision people, the assumption that I am a personal care attendant. Don't be mistaken for, don't want to be mistaken for a personal care attendant.
John, let me put it succinct what she means.
Okay.
Is that a lot of times when a sighted person is with blind people, they talk to the sighted person instead of the blind person. If we had a counter together, they'll say, so what, they'll say, well, what do that person want? And they say, well, no, wait a minute, ask that person. Ask the blind person. So a lot of times they don't interact with us. They ask whoever's with us. They figure that like that person is our personal care attendant. They are taking care of us. So they ask that person, what do we need or what do we want instead of asking us, even like in a restaurant. Okay, so that's the essence of it. Okay.
Got it. Okay, I think I got it clear now. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Dina.
Okay. I from myself as a blind individual, there's two main barriers to working, I guess, attending meetings or running meetings. One is having access to whether it's documents or presentations ahead of time so that I'm able to review documents. If I'm using a screen reader or at times even a Braille display, I did not learn Braille as a young child, so my Braille speed is very slow. So if I'm trying to, if a sighted person is able to glance through a document, I'm trying to listen to that document as the meeting is going, and it gets very, there's a lot of chatter. So that's one thing, is access to information, and even, ahead of time. The second thing would be the either visual cues. If someone, it doesn't happen as much in the virtual environment. I would say maybe maybe it does, and that may be the fact that I'm missing it. But in meetings, there may be the facial expressions and acknowledgement of those facial expressions or body language that isn't verbalized. So a decision is made either to move on or to dismiss or whatever without it being verbally acknowledged, as well as the side conversations that happen. We all know that we have conversations after a meeting and that sort of thing. So for me, it's a little harder to kind of find out where those conversations are happening. So I feel at times left out if there are segmented conversations that's ultimately helpful for the whole group that are happening with only part of the group, if that makes sense.
Yes, 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 yes. John, were you able to capture?
I had a call from somebody who's trying to get into the meeting, so I was not able to capture it. I'll take it off the transcript.
Okay, okay. Well, Dina, I'm going to try to summarize what you said, and if I misspeak, please correct me.
Sure, sure.
Okay. My understanding, John, the essence of what Dina was saying is that, first of all, it's important to send materials out ahead of time so that materials can be reviewed using screen readers, braille readers ahead of time. Otherwise, she's trying to do quick catch up in the meeting and trying to glean the information from what's said verbally. Another piece of what she said is that so much is happening through body language, and so she's excluded from that. And thirdly, she was talking about how so many meetings happen informally, you know, before meetings, on the side of meetings, after meetings. And again, how is she going to engage with that when these things are just happening organically? And I'm going to add, you know, another form of unconscious bias that ends up seeping in.
Okay.
Am I capturing that correctly, Dina?
Yeah, I took that by hand. I'll put it in the document in a minute.
Okay. Okay, great. Let's see. Thank you very much for that important feedback, Dina. Angeline, your thoughts?
I've been very interested in what the blind participants are saying to us. And I have, I'm thinking of this in the context of running a meeting. And I think by using some of the suggestions that have come up, that will actually help the meeting, because people have a tendency to interrupt and go off on tangents and so forth. So, and I keep trying to bring them back to the subject. So if I use these skills to keep everybody on topic, to announce ahead of time, this is the topic, we will now discuss it, and then just have it very, not formal, but very structured, then hopefully that will not only help the meeting, but it might help the understanding if we have a blind person there.
Thank you, Angeline. Nancy.
I don't have a lot of experience to offer. The one thing in the rare times I have been in group meetings where there was somebody who was blind, the person in particular that I'm familiar with was very, very capable person, extremely capable. And the thing that I often wondered is, I didn't want to assume that she needed help unless she expressed needing help. In other words, she was so capable that I didn't, so it was like hard for me to decide when I should step in and offer something, because I just didn't know if she actually really needed any assistance. And I sort of took the assumption that unless she needed something, it'd be better not to assume that she did, and sort of treat her as a fully functioning person. And so I guess that's confusing to me, is sort of when a sighted person can offer some assistance, and what's the manner in which to do that.
Great, 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 great. Very important feedback to put into this mix. Thank you, Nancy. Charisse.
I almost feel like I am echoing some of the sentiments of certainly Nancy and Renee, because when you started this conversation, the first thing that came to mind is assumptions, you know, and as a sighted person, and with a limited experience, you know, working with and engaging with low vision people is the, not knowing what to do, whether whether I'm inviting them in and assuming that they are capable and comfortable with, how the meeting is structured and, the level of participation or not. Like, I just don't know is sort of what this conversation is making me think.
Thank you, Sharice. And I should add that it is 100% appropriate to echo what somebody else says, if that's what your truth is. So I think it makes a lot of sense to be saying, yeah, just not sure what, I want to do the right thing. I don't know what the right thing is. And that's a very important thing for us to come up with and address. So thank you for that. Kristen.
Yeah, I think, I had some similar thoughts as others have already expressed. I think one other thing that hasn't been made, I'm thinking about when information is conveyed in images and only in images, but those images aren't explained. That, I think that happens sometimes when people are talking about it, but they'll, say things like, oh, you can see over here. But of course, somebody who can't see that isn't going to see where it's being pointed to. So I think being, making sure that information is conveyed in multiple ways, that it's not relying just on something in a picture, but explaining what's in the picture. And I think as someone who is a sighted person, being conscious of that and making sure that I am explaining, not relying on somebody being able to see what's in the picture to understand what I'm trying to convey.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, and I will add that images are not readable by screen readers. And so we see these on social media postings all the time where someone's saying, I'm sharing this image, but it's only accessible to those with sight. So thank you for that, Kristen.
Yeah,
Lois.
and text on images. I see that a lot too, text on images, but then the same information isn't conveyed in the text of the post. And yeah.
Right, so it's just lost. And people don't realize it. Lois, we'd love to have your thoughts.
The main concern that I have is having information relayed to me, whether it's on the screen, whether PowerPoint, whatever, I just, it's necessary for me to have that information. And a lot of meetings, they share videos, and it's not always, we have audio scripts in our movies and our videos in the blind community. So we don't always know what's going on in the video, So just having information relayed. And also, I think one of the barriers, like I heard some of the people this evening speak on, is just being comfortable, just a level of comfort. It's okay, ask, yeah, and don't assume, just ask. And I'm more comfortable, and I think people involved in the meetings are more comfortable if this is going on.
Thank you, Lois. John, were you able to capture all of that, or do you need a little summary there? John, did I lose you?
I was on mute.
Okay. Okay.
We've had 2 more people join the meeting.
Mhm.
And I think I've gotten something from everybody that's spoken recently, except for Angela. And if we could get her to repeat what she said for the notes, I would appreciate it.
Angeline, can you give a quick summary of your feedback so John can record it?
Yeah, basically, I was saying that in a meeting, which is where I mostly encounter people, that I would try to be very structured and explain everything piece by piece as we go through it. But I would be try to be as structured as possible so that there would not be little asides and little tangents and so forth, which would distract from the actual business that we needed to conduct.
Thank you, Angeline. I want to warmly welcome Amber Woods and Sharon Johnson. We're so happy that you are here. And this is being recorded, and so we will be able to catch you up to speed because of the material that you did not have an opportunity to hear. What we are discussing right now are what are the pieces, what are the issues that get in the way when there are meetings with sighted and unsighted people? What now, we're not looking at solutions, just what are some of the issues that come up? And so if you feel comfortable, because no one needs to participate unless they choose to, but Amber, if you would like to tell us a little bit about what brings you here tonight, and then your thoughts on the question of the issues that get in the way, we would be delighted to hear from you.
And just to note, I'm putting in the documents that we're using in the chat again so they can get it.
Thank you. So if you'd like to participate, Amber, do unmute yourself so that we can hear and learn from you.
Yes, it's Amber, but what was the question that you had? You said a little bit about me, what brings me here?
And just a little bit about you, what brings you here, where you're from, and the issue that we've been discussing going around the room, so to speak, the virtual room, is what are the issues that get in the way of having a really inclusive meeting with people who are sighted and unsighted? What are the things that get in the way? Not what the solutions are, but what are the issues that get in the way? So you, and then if you want to tackle the question, that would be awesome.
Awesome. Yes. So a little bit about me. I live in Prince George's County all of my life. So I'm actually a homegrown person in Prince George's County. Also too, real quick about me, I am also a leader in many ways. I'm a leader in the National Federation of the Blind National Harbor chapter that represents Prince George's and Charles County. I also am a commissioner for the county of the Commission for Individuals with Disabilities. And it so happens that I have a great prime example. And if I could share that, we have recorded our event today that reflected the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. And so if I can definitely share that video, I would love to with the group. And it's funny because today I did witness some things that are some barriers for people who are blind. Like, for instance, if there are videos where, you know, we hear the audio, and if it's visual, we tend to say, you know, if, you know, like say, like for instance, on YouTube, a great example is, you know, you watch a video for cooking, and all you hear is background music. You don't hear someone saying, taking the time to say, this is like 1/4 cup of, you know, XYZ here for a recipe. So if it's just a video and they just only show it with wording, with nothing describing it, with an audio, then we cannot participate fully. It's nice and we can kind of play along a little bit, but that seems to be the biggest issue, is that sometimes people tend to know that the world is more visual and they forget to say, oh, what about people who can't see? Or if they have a nice map of the country to show a problem, you know, where it's in colors, or if it's like a bigger object, you know, on a map. Let's say it's the whole United States of America, and let's say that some states have more issues. No one describes that, oh, the dots in this map means that there are more problems with either a racial injustice or racial, you know, or I mean, or you know, sexism, or even whatever it could represent. We will have no idea because they say, look here, and do you see this? And there's no description.
Thank you, Amber. Yes, yeah, thank you very much for that. If you are able to put that video that you just described into the chat, we would be very happy to share it with those who would like to watch it.
And Eileen, if I may interrupt here, I just got a quick feedback from Swarnalakshmi on something that I didn't know. And if you could tell me the feedback you just gave me, Swarnalakshmi, that would be great. And Swarnalakshmi, there you go. Go ahead.
Sure, John. So the feedback is that if you could take notes below every agenda item rather than taking them in a table with rows and columns, that would be much appreciated, because it's pretty hard for the screen reader to navigate between rows and columns as efficiently as a sighted person could do. And also it's hard to compare them, but it couldn't move around. The screen reader can move around, but it reads every row completely. So that's how it proceeds.
And I have a question. If I were to put headers in there somewhere, does that make it easier to get through the table? I have it in a table so that I can sort things later. And I'm wondering if headers in it would make it easier, like putting a header thing on the top of each row or each column rather.
Heading levels would be easier.
Heading levels,
Not-
so.
Yes.
Okay.
So taking it out of the table format, which actually, John, I would like you to put that into one of the issues, that this is
Right.
something for us to be aware of.
Yeah, right.
Right,
Don't take notes in tables.
right. So
I'm
that's
putting
Yeah,
in
and I-
Swarnalashmi's name here.
And this
Thank
is
you.
Dina. I can follow up with you, John, afterwards, just to kind of talk you through how to strip it out of table format. I think it's the difference in how we as blind people categorize or table or manage information versus how maybe it's done visually.
But this is such extraordinarily important feedback, because you're describing something that makes the difference between being able to participate fully and not. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what we want to get to the heart of. So this is extraordinarily helpful feedback. And we will be sure to get this to the city, because I'm sure this is information that many people do not have, which results in unconscious exclusion, very well-intentioned unconscious exclusion. And on the subject of city, I'm delighted to introduce Sharon Johnson, and how thoughtful of you to join us while you're home, Sharon. If you could take a minute or so to introduce yourself, what brings you here tonight, and any thoughts that you might have on what you see or what you might see as issues in a meeting with people who are sighted and unsighted. We would really appreciate hearing from you.
Hi, everyone. I have my little toddler, so you may hear him. He's a little fussy, but I thank you all for holding this tonight. I'm Sharon Johnson. I am the community case manager with the City of Greenbelt Gale program, and we work with families of older adults and their families, adults with disabilities, as well as families of young children on another part of our program. But I came here this evening to learn more about how we, as the Yale program and offering community events and programming, can be more inclusive in the programs that we offer. I have not personally experienced or witnessed situations that may be present challenges for individuals who may have limited vision or blind, but I have noticed a couple of things. In one of our memory cafes, we did have a presenter. When she introduced herself, she introduced her name. I know sometimes now we introduce ourselves with pronouns, but then she also sort of described her physical appearance, so that if there was someone online who may be visually impaired or blind, may be able to have a little more detail about what that person looks like. So for me, for example, I would say I'm Sharon Johnson, African-American female. And she, for example, described her red lipstick. So I thought that was really interesting. It was the first time I had experienced that. And I think that may be something that could be encouraged to do if there is someone who may be visually impaired, or just consider doing that as part of the norm. So sorry, I got a little fussy one here. So
Oh, no,
that's just my
Sharon,
little-
that's
Yeah.
great
thank you.
feedback. And
Okay.
I know Dina can relate directly to exactly what you are doing right now. And those of us have had this in our past. So we are so grateful for your multitasking abilities. John, were you able to capture what Sharon was offering up?
The main thing I got down that really caught my attention was describe yourself. When you're introducing yourself online, describe something about what you look like so that you're not just a voice.
Thank you. Yes. Let me see. The screen keeps moving around. I would love if you have any additional words of wisdom for us, Swana Lakshmi. We'd love to hear and learn from you as well.
Oh, sorry, would you mind repeating it?
Yeah, I just was wondering if you had any additional words of wisdom about other issues that you face or others have faced when you're in a hybrid situation, sighted and unsighted meetings. Is there anything that is missing from the list that John is compiling from the wisdom of the group?
I think we have covered pretty much. Thank you very much for asking. I also had my feedback in advance as well. Thank you.
Okay. Who have I missed? Who have
Miriam and Heather. Emmett had to leave.
Right. Okay. Thank you for keeping track, John. Miriam, we'd love to hear from you.
One thing that comes to mind is I don't know what I don't know.
That covers, oh, thank you.
'Cause
Yes.
there's some things that I know I don't know how to do. Like if I want to present an image, how to best present that for everyone, and so on. And then there's some things that I do know, like I want to echo what Renee said about dignity. Like my low vision mother, when people say to me, being with my mom, they talk to me and they say, does she go swimming? Does she walk? Right when my mom is there. So it's a really awkward, situation. So I'll just say, it's that, yeah, speak directly to the person, but very specifically that is she using a third person pronoun while the person is in front of you as if the person isn't there.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much, Miriam. Yes, I
That's
went through
something
that
I
with
do
my
know,
father
but what
too.
I'm more interested in is I don't know what I don't know, so I don't know how to ask the right questions. So let's dive
Thank
deeper.
you. Thank you. Heather.
Yeah, I think something that I've noticed in particular is that there are a lot of really great resources out there, checklists on how to make your PowerPoint more accessible. But sometimes they don't give a reason for what it's asking you to do. And so when people don't understand the reason behind doing something, they kind of come up with these like strange misconceptions. One that I hear a lot is, you can't use red and green. Like you can't use red and green because some people, actually a lot of people, substantial proportion of people are colorblind. But really you just can't use it as an exclusive means to convey information. If you have a red dot that says no in the middle and a green dot that says yes in the middle, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, I think sometimes there's a lot of information out there and checklists that are intended to make it easy for people, but without the reasoning behind why you should do those things, it kind of creates these weird misconceptions. I think it happens with we're talking about image description as well, where if you use like a PDF accessibility checker, it's going to say, hey, there's no alternative text on this image. And so You might just type in like photograph, but that's not helpful to someone who is using a screen reader. So yeah, just one of those things where someone really needs to know the reason behind what they're doing to do it correctly.
Thank you. So yes, another category of we need more information. There's just so much that we don't know. And by we, I mean sighted people don't have information. And so another more on that. So that's great.
Eileen,
Yes,
Reverend Ray, I'd like to comment on something that someone said, please.
sure, absolutely.
I want to thank Sharon Johnson for her observation. I am me and Miss Renee is part of the audio description community as well as industry. Matter of fact, Renee is a certified audio description person. And one of the things that we are trying to get presenters to do is to describe themselves whenever they're on a panel or they're presented to describe themselves. Now, we haven't got it down to what you should describe because it's different for white people and it's different for Black people. Now, Black people with women, they'll describe their hair, their lipstick, what the clothes they wear, and white people usually describe, their clothes and maybe their long hair, if a woman have long hair. So we haven't gotten it down to a science, but we are promoting and encouraging speakers when they speak to describe their self and sometimes and try to describe their facial, what's interesting about their facial, characteristics also. So I appreciate Sharon for sharing that at least one person we know that we have reached.
Thank you very much for that. Is there anyone that I did not call on? If so, just give a shout out.
I think you've called on everybody, but I suggest you see if anybody has additional thoughts.
Absolutely. I absolutely, yeah.
Oh, hi, Elaine, this is Dina. I think sometimes in meetings, when they're a bit more formal and they're using voting, as a means of making decisions, a lot of times they'll use like the raise of hands, and it would be really nice to know what the decision has been made and how many are included in that decision. It's kind of a very visually oriented way of voting, but also the second thing is of making sure that everyone in the conversation is at the same place, whether it is we're making a decision, we've made a decision, we acknowledge it, and we're moving to the next thing. Because sometimes, whether it is by distraction or whatever, those subtle movements or shifts in the conversation or agenda items are hard to kind of discern, because some of it I suspect as a blind person is done visually, by like reading the room or reading the body language of the participants.
Thank you, Dina. John, were you able to capture that?
At least in part. Hang on just a second. I'm adding in one thing. So what I have from Dana is that when votes are formal, like, all in favor say aye, or not say you could hear, but raise their hand. Then if they say, all right, that's the decision, you don't know what just happened.
Right.
And that's the essence of the note that I have.
And she also referred, well, just as an extension about body language, that so many, and I think people aren't even aware, and Dina's quite accurate, that so many transactions happen on a level of body language. And so in the absence of having that described, there could be decisions made for reasons that are just not transparent and therefore excluding. So what I want to do at this moment is to say this, that yes, what we do in dynamic governance is after we go around once, we go around again to see if anyone has anything additional that they'd like to add to this list that we're forming. But before we do that, recognizing that some of us have been on this call for almost an hour and a half now, would people like to keep going, or do you want a 5-minute potty break, stretch leg break? Just want to give that as an option. Do you want to go through for the next 40 minutes, or do you need to take a 5-minute break? What do you think? And just jump in anywhere to say, yeah, we're good, or no, I can't hold it in any longer.
Go ahead and finish.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
This is Lois. I say go ahead and finish.
Okay. So a dynamic community governance tool that I'm going to give right now, because it fits in with this right now, is when somebody has a suggestion of some kind, if somebody does not want that to happen, they say they have a paramount objection. And a paramount objection means not, I'd prefer that it go a different way. A paramount objection means it violates a core value you have, or it's just something that you cannot live with. So it's a very strong feeling of no, not just I prefer red, but I really cannot live with green, to keep with the red and green colors. So it sounds like no one has a paramount objection to continuing. So we will, of course, if anybody needs to take a break, obviously go do what needs to be done. Okay, so let us go around the so-called room one more time. And if you have additional issues that you want to raise, again, we're not problem solving right now. We're just saying this is a thing that comes up. We'd love to hear from you. And if not, you can simply say pass. So Kristen, I see you have your hand raised. Let's start with you.
Yeah, I was thinking about this because of the conversation about the physical descriptions. And I wonder if something else that to be conscious of is identifying yourself as the person speaking. Now, in this case, Eileen, you called my name, so it's, then I started speaking. But that seems like, I know I can't always identify people's voices and distinguish between people's voices if I don't, if I don't know them as well. So that seems like something else to think about, is making sure that it's clear who is speaking by identifying this. And I noticed that Dina and Reverend Ray, you have a tendency to say, this is, you introduce yourself when you start to speak. And that makes me think that maybe that would be helpful for the rest of us to do as well.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for that excellent feedback. And yes, Reverend Ray and Dina have been demonstrating it. And so, yes, let us incorporate that. So I will say, this is Eileen speaking, and I have not been doing that. So I appreciate that feedback. Thank you. John, would you like to weigh in?
I would like to pass it to Swarnalakshmi.
Okay.
Because she sent me a note saying she had something.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, John. So an additional thought would be maybe in rounds. If I'm actually doing multitasking, it would be great to know that when my turn comes in advance, so that I can be prepared and make myself aware that it's going, because screen reader does multiple tasking thing in a different way. Would be great to know in advance when my turn comes. So for example, when we call on people, it would be nice to hear them saying John and then Swarnalakshmi, or Swarnalakshmi and then such and such person, so that I'd be ready when John's speaking. That time would be
Thank
helpful
you.
for me. And also another thought is maybe when I also have the information as the previous person mentioned, the name mentioned. So as said, I'm Swarna Lakshmi speaking, and this is such and such. Just before getting their voice familiarized, having their names before they speak would be also lovely.
Would you please say the last part again, because I want to be sure I understood it. What were you saying about the names ahead of time?
For example, when somebody speaks, maybe if they're speaking, this is Swarna Lakshmi speaking, and just to, before getting familiarized with their voice, would be lovely to hear their names said, maybe in the first round of the meeting, or maybe in first 2 rounds of the meeting.
Thank you. John, you have that feedback?
Yep, I got it down. Also the feedback that if you're going to call on somebody next, you say, I'm calling on Susie, and then after that will be George. And you call on
Yes.
George, after that will be Mary.
Okay, well, let me demonstrate that right now. This is Eileen, and I am going to call on Lois now, followed by Amber. So unfortunately, Lois, I didn't give you any opportunity.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. I was thinking while you were talking. I was addressing previously the virtual meetings. And I was thinking about in-person meetings, you know, for that I have concerns about when information is handed to you, a booklet, a pamphlet, and you're asked to check on page 6, paragraph 3 will refer to this, you know, paragraph, you know, in the, you know, I have no clue what you're referring to. I have no clue what's going on. I'm lost, you know, just totally lost. And I find that very disconcerting to be, you know, unaware of where I am and what's going on.
Yes, yes, I think if we accomplish nothing else from this group, let us get to the heart of that so that at least those of us who are becoming aware do not have that happen again. Amber, we'd love to hear from you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Awesome. Yes, multiple things, but I'm going to make it short by like doing it as a bullet point. Number one is the technology itself. As we keep advancing or updates, different platforms and different ways that we even utilize our Zoom. Like for instance, I'm on my phone, which is an Android, which acts so differently from an iPhone. And even my talk back can sometimes get in the way of me trying to make a phone call or something like that. But in a sense of meetings, what that means, to draw it back full circle, is that some people have attitudes saying, well, I mean, so-and-so is blind. Can't you do that? So they're assuming that everyone who's blind is kind of equal, and that might not be the case. I mean, because depending on how much you can afford your technology, like say for instance, if you're not working or anything like that, you can't afford the best technology to access a computer. So you kind of have to try to be the best way to meet everyone where they are.
Oh, this is Eileen, indeed. And so as you take note, John, of technology needs and the disparities based on financial obstacles, maybe we can even be taking accounting of what kind of technology is needed and what role different cities and counties can play in addressing that kind of income equality and how it plays out in accessibility. So thank you very much for that, Amber.
One added this real quick too. Just like what happened tonight, I preferred how even though I couldn't access, it was a link that was easily accessible for me. So that was a kudos to that backup, because like I said, there's some cases where there isn't a backup like that, where you know a participant reaches out and say, I would like to get access. Sometimes in a lot of our government events, that's not in account as well. So I want to say kudos. That's a great example right there of how to do it the right way. So I was able to participate today. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Amber. I'm going to call on patience. This is Eileen. I want to do this correctly and get better at it, be more conscious. I'm going to call on patience, followed by Miriam.
So this is Patience, and I don't have really anything to add except to say that already I've learned a great deal. And I would like to just say that it really, we don't know what we don't know. And so coming back to that sense that for many of us, we just really, it's just not in our experience, or we're just unaware because we don't have the experience. So it's just really helpful to have this, all this input, and to really, I just appreciate it greatly, what I'm hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Eileen. I'm going to call on Miriam, followed by.
Hi, this is Miriam. I am so intrigued by the point that Amber just said, and I wanted to add to it about phone use versus computer use and income. I also wonder about data, and as data gets cheaper and cheaper, what technology we might look towards in thinking future thinking as data gets cheaper. Certain technologies that one may have not used in the past could be more accessible. And on the flip side, for those who do not have all the data that they would like for whatever reason, mostly focus, I would like to focus on income inequality, what cannot be used at this point in time. So sort of looking at both. I'm intrigued if that is interesting. I don't know if it's interesting, but I'm intrigued if it is. I don't want to, speak to that it is, but anyway.
This is Eileen. Miriam, every thought that any of us has is very important and interesting. There's no, the beauty of dynamic governance is that there truly is no right, wrong, good, bad. It's like a cake with all these different ingredients, and we don't even know what the cake's going to end up looking like. And that's what's exciting about it. So thank you for that input. Angeline, followed by Charisse.
And Eileen, this is John.
Yes.
I'm cutting in real quick here. I'm wondering, Heather, how long is the video that you had? Because I would like to be sure we allow time for it.
We're going to put the link in, John. We're not going to have the time to show it tonight.
Okay, I do have the link in the chat. I will also put it in the notes document.
Yeah, we will send it out to people to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, John. And thank you, Amber, for sharing that with us. Angeline?
This is Angeline, and I have learned so much tonight and am anxious to start practicing it, because I expect that this will take quite a lot of practice to really get it down, so that I don't forget things to do things, forget to do things like introduce myself, or, whatever else. But I want to echo, I believe it was what Heather said, and well, basically what everybody said. This has just been very interesting and informative, and I'm very glad that I tuned in.
We're glad that you are here too. This is Eileen. I'm going to call on Charisse, followed by Heather.
Hi, this is Charisse, and I do not have anything else to add other than I am really excited about what I'm learning and hearing, and I'm definitely more of an analytical person, so I like to learn, absorb, think about all that has been discussed, and I'm like a sponge right now. I'm absorbing so much information that I will be thinking about and figuring out different ways to use some of this feedback. So I'm appreciative. So thank you.
We are so grateful to have you here in Greenbelt, being our guide to so many things, Sharice. Thank you. Heather, and let me see, followed by Sharon.
Yeah, this is Heather. I really liked, I think a couple of people have mentioned practice. And I think that's a really good point, because sometimes people can be really awkward when they're, you know, actively trying to remember to do something that they don't normally do. So it's probably a good habit. You know, I try to make a habit of, even when I know I'm not presenting, I'm presenting slides to an audience that is completely sighted. I just try to practice like how I describe my slides, because it's really hard to do. And I feel like, you know, it comes off as really awkward when you try to present as maybe you normally would, and you're kind of like taking a step back and being like, oh wait, I forgot to describe that. So I just noted that a lot of people mentioned practice, and I think that's really good.
Thank you, Heather. Sharon, followed by Amber.
Hi, this is Sharon. Eileen, I had to step away for a moment. Was there a question, or are we kind of going around and adding additional thoughts?
Yeah, well, no, actually, we're sharing the winning lottery ticket numbers. I'm sorry you missed it.
I missed it. No, that's okay.
No, you
she
are quite
won,
right.
Right.
We're going around for the second round to see if anybody has additional issues that we have not yet raised or want to add emphasis to ones that have been raised.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, I did hear that part. I wasn't sure if I missed something else. But no, other than what I shared earlier, in addition to that, I think as maybe Patience mentioned, I definitely am learning so much and didn't know what I did know. And sometimes things are not, you know, brought to the forefront of your thinking and consideration when you are planning presentations and working with the community. So I'm just glad to be a part of this conversation and look forward to continuing the conversation so that I can take this back to my colleagues and we can work to incorporate some of the things. I was just texting them about some of the things we shared. So just I'm taking notes.
Well, Sharon, we so appreciate having you in this community. We are so fortunate in Greenbelt to have you and the team. So thank you. Besides Amber, who I'm going to call on right now, is there anyone that I have missed? Give a shout out if I have missed you in the second round.
Reverend Ray, I have a comment after Amber.
Okay, perfect. So let's go to Amber and then Reverend Ray.
Yes, at this moment, I don't have any additional input. So you can go ahead and have Reverend Ray speak. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, you've had incredible input, Ambers. We've definitely been very appreciative having you here on this call. Reverend Ray.
All right, well, first of all, I want to thank Amber. I'm on the commission with her, and she did a great job as the leader of putting together our program for the National Disability Employment Awareness Month. She did a wonderful job. I want to thank you, Amber. You did a wonderful job. You know, not 95, I'm on a lot of committees, organizations, all that, and a lot of meetings. I would say 90 to 95 of the meetings are not run well. You know, you just like the next month don't want to come back to them. So one of the things that I would like to see is people that's going to facilitate or chair a meeting to not lose control of the meeting and manage the meeting. It is really difficult for blind people to have people cross-talking, that person have not been called on. Most of the time they do not have an agenda to follow to keep them, keep it orderly. So I would really like to see the person that's going to chair a meeting have some kind of skills, how they chair a meeting and who to call on, how to make a motion. Because like I said, for a blind person, it's just so confusing to hear this person jump in and say, well, no, I don't think so. And then the chairperson doesn't, I don't want to say gavel them down, but they don't bring the meeting to order to say, okay, you address the chair and I'll call on you and what's your name? And it's just, the meeting just do not become valuable to a blind person once they get into people cross-talking, like I say, and it's just the inexperience of the chair person, just lose control of the meeting and just have no structure whatsoever.
Thank you, Reverend Ray. And yes, I would wholeheartedly agree that it is the painfulness of most meetings that is such a deterrent to people participating who have much to offer. So yes, that's very much why the Center for Dynamic Community Governance came into being, was to address that very thing. Thank you so much for everyone's feedback. Is there anyone who feels that there is something else that should be added that has not already been said? Okay, so apparently not. So the next step, which is
Just a second, I think Sort of Lakshmi had one thing.
Oh, sorry, I was about to unmute. And so I actually have something with regard to the reactions. So maybe if when people are raising hands, instead of visually raising hands, it would be lovely to have the reactions button used. For example, if they're raising hands, there is a raise hand function or the raise hand button that could be pressed. So the screen reader informs that whether people are raising hands or how many people have raised their hands. That would also be helpful for people having visual impairment when they facilitate the meetings. So both as a facilitator and as well as an audience, I think would be lovely to have that function used.
Thank you. For those who may not be familiar, there is at the bottom of the screen something called reactions, and you can, there are various things that you can do. You can raise your hand, you can applaud. There are various reactions, and so the recommendation was that that be used because so that can be read by the screen reader, apparently. And that's new information for me. I did not know that the screen reader could read those reactions. So that's also extremely important information. Thank you. Anyone else have final thoughts to add to the list? Okay. Well, what happens now is that the information that everyone has been providing is organized so that we can then do a final review of the list. And given the time, 8:43, what I'm going to suggest is this, that John work on that, but not today, and take it out of that chart format so that it is legible by screen reader. And we will then pick up with that, the completion of that list, and then moving forward through the rest of the steps, because this is going to culminate in specific proposals, a proposal or specific proposals. And so that could be our starting point for our next session. And again, the next session, it will be November 30th from 7 to 9 p.m. using the same Zoom number, the same phone number. I do want to provide a little bit of data about who is doing what so that you can get familiar with some of the terms, and also to sort of follow up with what Reverend Ray just said. I have been this evening operating in the role of facilitator. My role has not been to control the meeting. That's not the role of the facilitator in dynamic governance, but simply to guide and keep people on track. You know, as Reverend Ray was alluding to, meetings go off the rails when it's just sort of a free-for-all. So going through, making sure that everyone has an opportunity to be heard, and making sure that no one is dominating. And everyone tonight has been so incredibly gracious. So that's the role of the facilitator. Normally, there would be an election to find out who the facilitator would be. But obviously in this format, we're just assuming the role. And John tonight has been in the role of circle administrator. And he's been multitasking. He has been both recording comments, letting people into the room, among many other things. So he's been operating behind the scenes. And so those are the two key roles in dynamic governance: the circle administrator and facilitator. One's working very much behind the scenes to keep things afloat. The other person is running in front to keep it afloat. But neither of us are in charge, so to speak, because all of you are the ones in charge, because you're the ones providing all the information and the interaction. So John, are you comfortable with what I've just proposed, that the list get completed offline? We will send everyone, along with reminders about the next meeting, we will send the summary sheet in two formats for those who have screen readers to read them. For those who don't have screen readers, please let me know and we will find a way to send it to you that is accessible for you. By having that summary sheet, you will see all the things that we did tonight and all the things that we're going to continue to do next month in terms of proposals, and then we will work on many other topics relevant to meetings as well. And unless there's any paramount objections to what I just said, the last thing that we do in a dynamic governance meeting is a closing round, where we each go around and say what we liked about the meeting and what could be improved. And I encourage you to be very forthright with your feedback, because this is a learning experience. And so we very much value everyone's feedback. John?
Yes, cool.
Okay, great.
Consent.
Okay, great. So again, going through just based on how I'm seeing names, I will start with you, Reverend Ray. What did you feel worked, and any suggestions for how we can make improvements for the next one?
Well, what I saw was work that everybody participated, and they wasn't reluctant to participate. They participated. What I could see to work better, well, only thing I could say is just that we get people to start on time. One of my teachers said to be late, but 5 minutes after the time is unacceptable. To be on time is whatever. But anyway, that's and I know people can't help it. It just breaks the flow. And I think that's one of the things I learned about dynamic government. The people you start with, you create a semiotic type of relationship, even though you don't know the people. But just going around that circle twice, the circle just becomes a circle. And sometimes when other people come in, it breaks the circle and fractures the circle in some kind of way. So anyway, that's just my take on it. So move to the next person.
Thank you, Reverend Ray. So this is Eileen, and I will call on Swana Lakshmi, followed by Amber.
I think it just feels that we all spoke, and it gave a lot of time for us to share things. I learned a lot from all of you, and that's what I feel.
Thank you, and our heartfelt thanks to you for participating, particularly given that it's ODARK 100 where you are. So we are most grateful for your input and for your presence. Thank you so much. We are deeply touched.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you.
Amber, followed by Sharon.
Hi, yes, everyone. I cannot see at this moment what could be improved right now, since it's my very first time getting onto this call, and maybe others as well. I do want to say kudos to having a number provided so that when I was having technical difficulties, I was able to reach a person in a timely fashion so I could participate today. So I say kudos once again for having those alternatives as well. So, and then also I do like the round robin approach that everyone gets a chance to speak and you call on folks just to make sure that it gives them wiggle room for if it's technical reasons why they can't raise their hands or whatever could be going on. So I want to say thank you for this opportunity for me to be on today. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon, followed by Miriam.
Hi, this is Sharon. So one point I'll share as far as what worked this evening, I ditto Reverend Ray and saying that having everyone go around and then offering another opportunity. It was great to hear different suggestions from the different ones, even those who shared that they're learning. I think that's great that they weren't reluctant to say that, even if maybe they didn't have a point to share, but they have shared that, what they learned from hearing from others. And then the only area that I would say that can be improved, and this is really talking to myself, is sharing with others, advertising and making sure I kind of pass the word when we have the next meeting so that, we're getting more people, into the meeting so that they are able to join in the conversation. So that's a sort of a note to myself on how to improve in preparation for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Yes, we would be very grateful for your assistance in that. Miriam, followed by Patience.
Main thing is when we were answering the first question with the round robin, if the question that we're on is somehow highlighted, or I'll say what I needed, and I don't know if it would work for different sight abilities, but like if it was highlighted, because I was like kind of looking through the notes, like where are we again? Where are we again? Like you said, we have so many meetings that we're in that unfortunately, it's easy to lose focus. So I was like trying to look through, like I saw all the documentation, but I didn't know where we were in it. So at that moment, so I was wanting to answer the question accurately, but I wasn't sure if I was 100% on the right question. So just hurting the attention deficit cats.
Oh no, very.
What would have helped highlight to put a like a heading number?
Just like the question that we're on, I guess in the chat, or like in the documentation, like literally having it highlighted, like this is what we're on right now. Like you are here, like a map. You are here.
Would having it being a header thing have helped, like saying this is the question being addressed?
I think all the documentation was there. I just didn't know like where to.
Okay.
I just didn't know what line we were on. I just didn't know where we were.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the number, we're on number 2, and then it's still highlighted. Yeah.
Thank you, Miriam. I understand what you're saying. We will definitely incorporate that feedback. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Patience, followed by Kristen.
This is Patience, and I just appreciated so much that so many people came, and were contributing so deeply. So it was a great learning opportunity, and I'm going away energized by just the commitment of so many here and the expansiveness. It feels like an opportunity, a big opportunity.
Thank you, Patience. Kristen, followed by Nancy.
Yeah, so this is Kristen. So I think I think what has gone well is that clearly we are all, I mean, we're already making changes as we go, right? I think that's really neat to see that we're recognize that there's something that's not working as well, and on the fly fixing things so that it works better. So I think that is both a thing that I appreciated and thing, we clearly have some things that we are already working on, such as, we're now introducing ourselves, things about making the notes more accessible. It's been a really good way to spend a couple hours this evening. So thank you.
Oh, that's great. Nancy, followed by Angeline.
Hi, this is Nancy, and I think it's been a really interesting discussion. I loved getting to hear so many different points of view, particularly for the people who are challenged with sight, to hear what their challenges are. And yeah, it's just been a wonderful conversation. The one suggestion I would have is actually not about the meeting itself, but the flyer and the publicity for the meeting, because for me, I was unclear exactly what this meeting was going to be about. To me, and maybe I'm not familiar with the phrase, but the trainer was confusing to me. I wasn't really sure who the trainer was, or what was I being trained to go out and do other presentations like this, and that sort of thing. So I just would encourage the flyer to be a little bit clearer about what this group is trying to accomplish.
Excellent feedback. Thank you, Nancy. Very good point. Thank you. Angeline, followed by Charisse.
Hello, this is Angeline, and I really thought the number of people in this meeting and the expertise that they brought was so valuable. I was basically totally ignorant of the barriers that blind people or visually challenged people are up against. And this has really been very informative, and I'm very glad to have learned what I've learned. The suggestion I have is not so much for making this better, but when we do the next meeting, could there be a list perhaps of the things that we're going to try to do, like introducing ourselves, saying our names, and then maybe giving a brief description of ourselves, and then whatever else we would need to know for the next meeting. That is what I would request.
Thank you, Angeline. We will incorporate that feedback for sure. Thank you. Charisse, followed by Dina.
This is Charisse, and I have two points of feedback. One, I just want to thank and show appreciation for the lived experiences of Dina, Amber, Shwarna Lakshmi, and Reverend Ray. I just think that it's so great to have this conversation and to actually learn from people who are living, breathing, and experiencing these things, instead of hearing theory and how we should be doing these things, from people that, maybe don't necessarily have all of the experiences. So I'm appreciative of that. And also the structure, in the sense that you not only allowed people the opportunity to speak, but allowed people to feel comfortable where they were when we provided our feedback, so that if we didn't have anything to say or to add or anything like that, that experience was not minimized, which I sometimes feel like, the people that are able to speak up the most eloquently always and sort of share their thoughts in real time sometimes tend to take up a lot of space. So I appreciate you letting people sort of come in where they were. So thank you.
Thank you, Charisse, so much. Dina, followed by Heather.
I'm very pleased with how this evening went, and it's such a rare opportunity to get a chance to have a mixed audience of both blind and sighted individuals talking about how to make meetings more accessible. We're definitely at the start of this conversation with us discussing how we may experience barriers on both sides of this without the pressure of having to provide solutions. And we probably saw this evening that some of the solutions were just acknowledging, oh, we can do things in a different way. I think a lot of the times the fear of making meetings and spaces inclusive is feeling as though you have to have it right and right now. So I appreciate the time that we were able to take this evening just to share openly and with each other. So looking forward to the next one.
Thank you, Dina. Heather, followed by Lois.
Yes, Heather. I really wanted to echo Cherie's comments about just thanking everyone for sharing their experiences during this meeting. I think it was really interesting to hear a conversation between people who have lived experience of being blind and people who maybe have never thought of it before, and then everyone in between. So I really appreciated listening to everyone and getting to meet everyone. My only complaint is the next meeting date. I am really looking forward to the recording, and I'm very sad that I won't be able to make it. But I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed meeting everyone, and I'm super sad that I won't be able to join live next time.
Oh, thank you, Heather. I believe Lois, you are the last one. Am I forgetting anybody after Lois?
Renee.
Ah, gosh, why do I keep doing that? It's funny, the screen keeps bouncing around and it's a little hard to keep track. Okay, so yes, Lois and then Renee. And I want to ask for your indulgence. I promised we would end at 9. It is 9:02, so we will end at 9:05. Lois and then Renee, thank you. Lois, are you able to join us?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was unmuted. I enjoyed the meeting. I'm very grateful for having this opportunity. The facilitator, the circle administrator, the participants, very good. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it, the next meeting.
Wow. We so appreciate your feedback and presence, Lois. And last, but so definitely not least, Renee.
I don't see Renee on the screen.
Maybe that's why I didn't call on her, because I didn't see her. That's right, I don't see her. Okay.
You haven't called on me, so I'm going to say one quick thing. and that is that I really appreciated Renee saying at the beginning of the meeting to me by chat, please turn on the transcript, because she's the one that has hearing problems. And so she was able to see with the transcript. So I was like, okay, great.
And my closing words are of gratitude. I am so profoundly grateful to everyone on this call, because you have just been tremendous. I mean, you have given of your time and your heart I mean, it's one thing to show up, but everyone on this call really showed up. And for that, I am so grateful. And John and I will most definitely be incorporating all the suggestions you've given us. And we will put together that list for next time. And John will preserve the chat because I have not had an opportunity to be reading the chat and facilitating simultaneously. And we will send copy of the recording to everyone, the chat, the summary sheet, and feel free to reach out to me with any other questions, thoughts, ideas. And if anyone in Greenbelt wants us to be helping out with your meetings, reach out. And I am at Eileen, AILEEN at dynamic-governance.org. And I know that's a mouthful, so I'm going to say it again. Eileen with an A at dynamic-governance.org. And with that, I say thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you on November 30th. And if you cannot join us, 50 lashings, but we'll forgive you. And thank you so much. Have a good rest of your week and evening, and stay well. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
God bless. God bless.